Good morning and welcome to Enterprise Friday on Enterprise TV, where we bring you up to date with important and trending news in the country. I am Chioma Okohe.
And I am Henry Igwebike.
Before we move on, I want you to be a part of what we say by following us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. And kindly visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com. Let's get started. But before we get started, I want to say good morning to our own barrister Evans Philly. Thank you for joining us this morning.
That's my pleasure.
Hey, Henry, what do we have on our
So, kicking off, we have starting from the Nation newspaper, and the big story here says a 50% electricity subsidy for universities and teaching hospitals across the country.
Okay, moving on the top strip of the Nation newspaper. Manufacturing gets 74 billion naira to boost production, and we have just a rider to that particular story. DBN releases 112 billion naira loans. Okay, moving on. Seyi Tinubu launches initiative to fight maternal infant mortality. Okay, but let's get to one important story here. Striking doctors risk losing pay. Federal government threatens to invoke no work, no pay rule. Barrister Vansivili, looking at this particular story, striking doctors risk losing pay. And at this point where our health sector is nothing to write home about, and the striking doctors have actually made their plight known to the government, will a sane government threaten its doctors on a no work, no pay rule if they have the country and the citizens at heart?
I don't think it's advisable for the government to go that way. Health is very, very sensitive. And the Minister for Health, okay, should know better, okay, that this is a professional calling. And in our own profession, in the legal profession, perhaps maybe we are different. Yes. Sometimes you assess a client and you see that the client is just a victim, doesn't have money. Not every lawyer will say, just go, we can't do anything about it. Most times we engage, we even spend our money because it's a call to humanity before reward. You understand? So whilst I say the government should not approach it that way, the doctors themselves should also give it a human face. I know it's very easy for us to compare what doctors earn abroad and what they earn here and how that they are not treated well here. We understand and I agree. And how the federal government will consistently enter into agreement with them and not fulfill it. All those are condemnable. You understand? But I do not think that you should put them at that scale of no work, no pay. An eyeball for an eyeball. It will make the world shut down. Okay? Let us have a negotiation. What are the problems? Okay. How can the federal government meet the doctors halfway? Because on health, if you begin to carry out that attitude to health issues, that if you don't work, you will not be paid and all that. See, most of these doctors, they have hospitals. They have their private hospitals. So if you want to execute, you can only execute that to a man that don't have alternative. You understand that if you don't come to work today, it means that you will not be paid for that day. You can only execute that to a man that. But most of these doctors, they have other things they do. You understand? Many of them are consultants to other medical whatever facility and all that. So it's not the right thing to do. Let us negotiate the terms properly. And the federal government should be honest enough to abide by it. Like, we should have put this behind us a long time ago.
Now, speaking about the problem, actually, the reason the medical doctors are desiring to down tools is simply because one of their member was kidnapped for 8 months now. She has not been seen yet. And the reason they're doing this is to enforce and ensure that the federal government does something about it to bring her back. Now, all hope is lost to whether or not she is alive. Right? And the reason the medical team is saying we're going on strike is to ensure that this lady is brought home to her family and to her colleagues. A situation where we do not know if she's still alive How do you think this would end up?
Yeah, I know the issues are many. They are not just economic issues. There are security issues around it. Not too long ago, the ones that are under training were kidnapped. So many of them have been released now.
Yeah.
Okay, part of the problem too. Okay, so you see why we talk about the issue of insecurity, how that it has capacity to undermine not just the medical field, but every profession. It has that capacity. And that is why so much funds is voted to, to curb insecurity in the land. Okay, so the federal government has to take that step because they've not been serious about this, and the complaints have been made over and over again. Not just that lady. There are other cases I read in the Punch where you have situations where doctors have been kidnapped and all that, and the federal government is not even conscious of the fact that when you kidnap a doctor, I think our doctor-patient ratio in Nigeria is 1 to 60, right?
No, 1 to 2,500.
1 to 2,500. So if one doctor is kidnapped, what it means is that
We've lost 2,500.
yes, you are putting the life of 2,500 persons at risk. So what should we then do? We don't even have enough doctors in the country as we speak. Okay? The few ones we have, some of them are being kidnapped. And the government that's supposed to respond to that are not responding adequately. There's no rapid response to that. So when you don't have rapid response, you are losing professionals to kidnappers and insurgents, and you are not doing anything about it. And you also know that many of these doctors that are passing out today, okay, are not even ready to stay back. The little wonder they were trying to come up with a law and National Assembly. You understand? To make sure that doctors don't leave the country.
In fact, they've even had that done. There used to be a search,
Yes.
a site where teams from abroad can know if you're registered. Now they've made it so difficult for them to gain access to that.
Yes, and then you are making
Those details.
you are making the penal law to keep them within. But the ones that have chosen to stay, you're not treating them well. When they are kidnapped, you don't know where they are and all that. So there's a need for us to do things better. And that is to ensure that human capital is preserved. And in the absence of human capital, you are looking at a situation where everyone will be in trouble.
Very true. All right, so quickly let's move on to the Guardian newspaper for today. The big story here says the making of a capital city of growth, inequality, rags and riches. We have a cartoon flake here, where we have Nigerians, of course, hoping to get accommodation without having any, and of course the whole situation is just a conundrum.
Yeah, it's really a conundrum. Okay, moving on, still on the Guardian newspaper. Afe Babalola cautions against 18 years limit for WAEC NECO. Details are on page 20. And moving on, federal government gives traders 1 month to crash prices of goods. That's very funny for me. Okay, moving on, government increases SUBEP matching grants to 3.5 billion naira. Okay, Barrister Philly, let's look at this particular story. Federal government gives traders 1 month to crash prices of goods. Now, these are leaders who can't work to even reduce the salary if they have the citizens at heart, or even bring up laws to say, okay, let's slash our salary. Let's receive maybe once in 2 or 3 months, or once in 2 or 3 months, or 6 months, because we are actually entitled to a lot of incentives and other payments aside from the salary. And they are asking traders to crash goods that they never supplied or even provided for. Isn't it disheartening?
Sometimes I wonder how this will reason. They're asking traders to crash. You think the fault is from traders? See, the only way to make goods to crash is not by ordering people to crash it. It's going to crash by the forces of demand and supply. So if you can push in those goods or open the border, or just do something that will disrupt price. The president was the one who used a policy to disrupt price. And everything went wrong. You can also use a policy, okay, to disrupt it again and bring it down. And that is to create availability. Okay, to make a policy that will guarantee availability of goods and services. If government inject or invest into the market space, by having these goods all over the place.
Mm.
Once supply is huge, to affect price.
Mm.
And so when you sit down somewhere now, order them to crash it, you are just wasting your time. Yes, you are wasting your time because are you saying they should sell below cost price? Nobody will sell below cost price. You understand? And you cannot actually prosecute anyone for selling goods with profit margin. You cannot do that. You understand? So I don't think that's the right way to go. You talk about the reduction of some lawmakers came out the other time in a dramatic thing that they want to, that fund that they contribute. I read a story not too long ago that they said there are a lot of is it bureaucracy or something that they are not able to do or something like that. I try to understand the story. But you cannot use force, okay, or belligerence to coerce traders to submit to what you call your own price margin when you have not made any input into how they secure these goods and how they distribute it. If you crash the price of fuel now to 200 naira, you have solved the problem.
Yeah, very true.
Because what will happen is that the trader that's supposed to use 500 naira, for example, to bring the goods, will not use 100 naira to bring it. So we'll add 100 naira on the cost price.
And price drops.
The unit, yes. So, but when it's adding 500 naira on the unit of the cost price, and you now sit down somewhere and say you want to bring it, well, how did he, where did he purchase this goods? How did he transport it? What means did he use and all that? Or how did he purchase this goods? And what did he use to store it? The storage. How much is 1 kilowatts of electricity now? Okay. So if electricity is still very high, then maybe I have a cool room, for example, a cool room, then I have stock that, and I'm using this expensive power to freeze it and to protect it from decay. And by the time I want to sell, I can purchase power for so much. And you're asking me not to use that because you have to calculate running costs.
Yeah.
Running costs, you add it to unit cost. You understand? And all other variables. You understand? Including opportunity costs. So when you do all that, you have so many costs to deal with.
All right. So let's look into, still on the Guardian newspaper, the making of capital city of growth inequality. Housing deficit is a very big problem in Nigeria, particularly if you take a look at the major cities, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and so on and so forth. Back in the days, in the 80s, there used to be low-income homes. Low-cost houses. Yes. Now, low-cost houses are taken over by politicians. How do we come to a solution with all of this?
That is part of the economic injustice. I mean, I remember then in Jos, when I couldn't secure hostel accommodation, I had to go stay with a cousin that had a low-cost housing, okay, towards the Miango area. You understand? So, and these low-cost houses were built in such a way that it's so comfortable. You have all the facilities running, yet cheap. And within the means of those who were working at that time. So I don't think housing should be a problem.
So what did you think the military, because of course it was, most of them were built during the military, yes. What exactly did they do that we are not doing now?
The difference between the military is that when they build this house and set it out, they put it on ballots and they ensure that the purpose for it is met. The people who are supposed to get it will get it. The difference between our politicians is that when politicians do theirs, okay, one politician will come and buy up maybe half of it and lock it up and travel. Or it will just, the access to get it will now become, you have to know somebody who knows somebody. They will bring in tribalism, they will bring in favoritism, they will bring in all kind of isms into individualism. Into it. And at the end of the day, the middle class or sub-middle class, or the protectorate that is meant for low-income earners. Because in every community, in every society, we will have class difference. And class difference is tied to your economic prowess. Not everyone have equal economic prowess. So if you cannot just preserve only the rich in society, the poor have a role to play. You understand? The man who does your plumbing and your carpentry needs to lay his head somewhere. And it's your responsibility as a leader to make provision for that. Okay? Make provision for transportation too. And the rest of that. Well, okay, look at our transportation system in the country. It's nothing to write home about. Okay? Housing for the masses. 200 million people. You have so many, and we have a data for homeless people. You understand? We have a data for people living in the IDPs. Okay, so why can't government, okay, the federal government will have a minister for works and housing. What the money they vote to that office, what are they doing with it?
A Calabar Highway.
And so,
Lagos Calabar.
The coastal highway is
Lagos Calabar Highway.
How much is the coastal highway? How much is the coastal highway?
Good.
There are other things that the federal government want to have there. There is even some mortgage policies that will have that you get this and pay over time. But because we have a government that is not consistent, that's what Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was talking about at the NBA conference, that there's a need for Nigeria to come up with a social contract. Not the one that was propounded by the philosophers, that's unwritten. That we should have a written one that will make it difficult for a government that's in power now, when it is for Allah will come and cancel everything the previous that we should have that consistency, or that's what they did in Peru. We have that consistency, and all that. If we document it, we have consistency. It will be difficult for opposition to pull out. So that way, we're able to establish that social contract. And when we do that, we'll be able to, things like housing should be, for me, things like housing should be on first line charge. Just like House of Assembly members, their salary, how serious they put it. Put housing on first line charge. Put police, first line charge. Security, first line charge. Declare state of emergency on all these areas and focus on them. Because when you put up this fact, the citizens will behave better. A citizen that have a low-cost housing will not be defecating on the expressway.
It's true.
Because in those low-cost housing, you have toilets, you have everything. So that when you find someone defecating on the expressway, you can now punish the person adequately.
Very true.
For having a house. So you not treat him like as a psychiatric patient. So you can diagnose that problem from him.
Very true. And by the way, the son-in-law of the president is given the charge of building houses for Nigerians across the country.
You see that's the real problem.
With billions, of course, given.
So if you not award the contract through nepotism, at the end of that, we will get results.
Very true. All right, so finally, let's go to the Punch newspaper. And the big story here says a presidential fleet, 200 families displaced as NAF demolishes houses. Okay, moving on. Ajero Anas police summons. Fourth terrorism allegation with the pictures of him and his lawyer, that's Femi Falana, and pictures of him going and coming out actually, and a lot of I think that those are the NLC members behind there too. Okay, moving on the top strips. On the top strip of the Punch newspaper, Governor's Jobs Bazaar. State wages rise by 900 billion naira. And Tinubu case 50% electricity subsidy for hospitals, others. And lastly, on the top strip, NYSC bars poly graduates without IT experience. Details are on page 18. And the no work, no pay threat won't stop strike. That is coming from resident doctors. All right, so let's get to this issue, 50% subsidy for hospitals and in around the country. Is this the best solution? There used to be a time when public hospitals say they can't pay those exorbitant amount any longer, running in billions. Now, the federal government has said they've subsidized it. Would that help these very worthy institutions?
Well, in a way it will, but I don't think that's the long-term solution to the problem. Okay? It will definitely it will reduce their cost of operation. Because in that case, the federal government will now be, augmenting whatever is in there. For how long would you do that? Okay, why don't you create a permanent solution to the problem?
And which is?
Of course, which is to take over the running cost completely.
Totally.
Yes. Now, you see, these are service areas. Okay. If you in very civilized countries, in South Africa now, for example, you see, medicals is free. No matter what is wrong with you, even if your head has removed, and there's a way to bring it back, it's free everything.
Wow.
And that also is free for immigrants. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, are they richer than us? They are not. It's just that we're not applying our resources properly. Then the focus on citizens and human capital is not there here.
Or don't you think it's because of our population? South Africa is 56 million. We're 220.
Yes, no, but compare in terms of GDP, resources, and empowerment. Compare it. Okay, why should the federal government subsidize the cost of training professionals if it's not going to use them effectively eventually? A lot of medical doctors in Nigeria and South Africa. In fact, you can hardly see indigenous South Africans that are doctors, but they don't read that much. What they do is diploma and high school. When I went to South Africa, my elder brother told me that all the people that attended to me in the airport, all of them are school staff. With that, it's sufficient for you to live a comfortable life. So I just think that our non-alignment, we're not managing our country proper on all structure. We're not. If we were, I don't think medicals should be. Maybe if you have to pay for medicals, it should be for the very elite, extreme elites. Otherwise, the other people who you can classify them as middle class or middle class, we're a country enough that can guarantee healthcare. And we did it in this country. I remember then the Nigerian Air Force. I don't know now. When my dad was still serving at Nigerian Air Force, then early 80s, early 90s, late 80s, 90s. Then we'll go to the hospital. That's how we had my dad's service number in our head. Because once we go to the first thing they ask us is your father's service number. Will say 7768. We just know it.
And the cross-check and
yes, they admit you immediately. You report sick, then they ask us to go and report sick. Even when we're not sick, we just go. They will now put us in the bed and we're happy that we're
just for the fun of it.
Okay, thank you, Barrister. Now let's wrap up with this. Ajaero Honors placed someone's false terrorism allegation. Now he was not just if it's an allegation, it was not just terrorism allegation. There were other allegations. Subversion and cyber crime and co. Now, does that mean that he's guilty of others and he just faults the terrorism allegation?
No, when I was saying here yesterday, say go to the police. You see, when you are staying away from arrest, you empower the police to do it. I said it. One of the guests told me yesterday that if I were the one, would I go and honor? I was in Asaba, 2002, 2022. Yes. I was in Asaba when the EFCC invited me. They said there's an investigation they're going to do and they need my whatever. That's how I had been deported from Asaba to Lagos. I went back in for another case. And I was chased through a tunnel. And I injured and I landed at the hospital. I saw myself at the hospital the next day. So that was when the information came. They called me on phone. You understand? And I told the woman on phone that, hold on, I am admitted. 2 days from now, I'll be with you. You understand? And after that, I took a flight from Asaba straight to the EFCC. You understand? So what he said, he doesn't even know what he was saying yesterday. I went straight to them and what is the allegation about? They said this. And Before you know it, I was detained for 10 days.
Whoa.
You understand? Yes. But I'm telling you that if the police call me saying there's allegation, I'll go there immediately. I'll go there. I understand what it is. You don't, because if Ajero continues, that he's able to talk now. Before, it was like, and then say everybody should start strike or something. If they hold him, no, that's not what you are supposed to do as a leader. It's an allegation. You go there. Every lawyer will go there. You don't run from invitation or arrest, because in the long run it's an offense to resist arrest. So you don't have to. You go there. Now I know our police force, they are battered, they are unprofessional, they are whatever it is. Everything about them is negative. But that is not an excuse, not to honor their invitation.
Okay. Thank you, Barrister Philly.
And very true. You know, frankly, I saw, you know, the labor union members in different states, Katsina, they all actually made their way to the nearest police formation in their various states. And I think, who knows, maybe that would have contributed to allowing Ajero to just leave swiftly, because of course everyone is scared of the labor union right about now.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to say a very big thank you to Barrister Philly. Thank you for joining us this morning. That was a detailed analysis. Thank you.
All right, and when we return, Borno security expert calls for professional investigation of Bashir Kadhaja, alleged terror financier. That in a bit, please don't go anywhere.